Chapter 4: The House Remembers. Birkin House had always been a place that collected stories. Some houses did. Some houses absorbed every footstep, every whispered argument, every secret pressed into a pillow or spilled into a glass. They held on to them the way cliffs held onto fossils, quietly, stubbornly, without asking permission. Nesrine felt that the moment she stepped back inside, the storm had begun to lash against the shutters, the wind rattling the old frames as though demanding entry. The officers moved through the rooms with the uneasy caution of people who sensed they were intruding on something older than their authority. Their voices were low, their footsteps hesitant. Arthur followed Nesrine into the main hall, his gaze drifting upward to the high ceiling where a chandelier hung like a frozen constellation. Dust motes swirled in the air, catching the faint light that seeped through the cracks in the shutters. "This house has seen things," he murmured. Nesrine didn't respond. She didn't need to. The house answered for her. A floorboard creaked overhead, too slow, too deliberate to be the wind. Arthur stiffened. "Someone's upstairs." "No," Nesrine said quietly. "Not anymore." She moved toward the staircase, her hand brushing the banister. The wood was smooth, worn by decades of touch. She imagined the people who had climbed these steps, Jane Birkin herself perhaps, or the friends who had visited her, or the strangers who had come later, drawn by the house's reputation for beauty tinged with melancholy. But the melancholy had deepened. It had thickened into something else. She reached the landing and paused. The hallway stretched before her, lined with closed doors. The wallpaper, once elegant, had faded into muted shades of blue and gray, peeling in places where damp had crept in. A faint scent lingered in the air. Old perfume, the kind worn by women who understood the power of subtlety. Arthur joined her, his footsteps soft. "Which room?" he asked. Nesrine didn't answer immediately. She walked slowly down the hallway, letting instinct guide her. She had learned long ago that houses spoke in their own language. Shifts in temperature, changes in air pressure, the way silence settled differently from room to room. She stopped at the third door on the left, the master bedroom. She pushed it open. The room was large, with tall windows that overlooked the sea. The curtains billowed slightly, though the windows were closed. A four-poster bed dominated the space, its white linens untouched, its pillows arranged with the kind of precision that suggested either a housekeeper's pride or a guest's reluctance to disturb anything. Arthur stepped inside, his gaze drawn immediately to the vanity table. A hairbrush lay on its side, strands of silver blonde hair caught in the bristles. A bottle of perfume, its label faded, stood uncapped, the scent faint but unmistakable. "Someone was here recently," he said. "Not recently," Nesrine replied. "Just not long enough ago." She moved toward the window, touching the cold glass. The storm outside blurred the horizon, the sea a shifting mass of gray and white. She could see the private cove from here, the rocks slick with rain, the tide rising fast. Arthur joined her at the window. "You think the missing guest came through here?" "I think they stood exactly where we're standing," she said, watching the tide, waiting for the right moment. Arthur studied her profile, the way her eyes narrowed slightly as she pieced together the fragments of a story only the house remembered. "You've seen this before," he said. She didn't look at him. "Not exactly, but I've seen the kind of mind that does this." "A ritualist." "A perfectionist," she corrected. "Someone who believes the world owes them symmetry." Arthur exhaled slowly. "And the sixth guest broke the symmetry." Nesrine turned from the window. "No," she said. "The sixth guest completed it." She walked back toward the hallway, her coat brushing the doorframe. Arthur followed, though he sensed she was moving through something he couldn't yet see. They descended the stairs in silence. In the main hall, the officers had gathered near the fireplace, speaking in low voices. One of them approached Nesrine, his expression uneasy. "Capitain," he said, "we found something in the study." She nodded. "Show me." They followed him into a small room lined with bookshelves. The air was colder here, as though the room had been sealed for years. A large desk sat beneath the window, papers scattered across its surface. But it was the wall that drew Nesrine's attention. Pinned to it were photographs, old, faded, some curling at the edges. 6 people, always the same 6, captured in different moments, laughing on a terrace, posing on a boat, standing in front of Birkin House in the summer sun. Arthur stepped closer. "These are the victims," he said quietly. Nesrine nodded. "And the missing one." She pointed to the figure at the edge of each photograph, a man with a sharp jawline, dark eyes, and a smile that never quite reached them. He stood slightly apart from the others, as though he were part of the group but not of it. Arthur frowned. "He looks detached." "He looks like someone who expected to be left out," Nesrine said, "and someone who never forgot it." Arthur studied the photographs again. "Who are they?" "Old friends," Nesrine said, "or something like it." She stepped back, letting the room settle around her. The storm raged outside, the house held its breath, and Nesrine Boudaoud felt the first true shift in the case. This wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't a spontaneous act. It wasn't even revenge. It was a reckoning. And Birkin House had been waiting for it.